They never see the silent ones coming. While the loud fight for attention, the silent sharpen their minds like blades. While the world shouts, the quiet ones observe, calculate, and move like shadows, striking with precision when others are still arguing. This is the essence of silent power: influence without noise, control without confrontation, dominance without display. The world misunderstands silence. They see it as weakness, as fear, as uncertainty. But the masters of ancient Stoicism understood the opposite truth: silence is strength concentrated. The louder a man becomes, the more desperate he is to prove himself. But the Stoic stands still in the storm. He speaks little, because he needs no validation. He does not perform, he prevails. This philosophy forged giants like Marcus Aurelius, who ruled the mightiest empire on earth yet carried himself with the calm of a mountain. He wrote, "The best answer to anger is silence. Not passivity, power." Epictetus, born a slave, rose to become one of the most influential minds in history not by shouting, but by controlling the only thing that truly mattered: himself. And Seneca the Younger warned, "It is better to conquer your tongue than to conquer the world." They knew what most still fail to see: power is not in noise. Power is in restraint. Silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of control. When you walk into a room without needing to prove yourself, people feel it. When you listen more than you speak, you learn more than anyone else. When you stay calm while others erupt, you win battles before they begin. This is the secret battlefield of life: not arguments, not noise, but presence. Silent power makes people uncertain, and uncertainty makes them cautious. That is your advantage. The loud reveal their strategy, the silent conceal theirs until it's too late. The world expects resistance, reaction, retaliation, but silence confuses, disarms, and dominates. While others burn energy to be seen, you conserve energy to win. And when you finally speak or act, it lands like thunder. To master the art of silent power is to become untouchable. You stop wasting words defending yourself. You stop explaining your worth. You stop reacting to every insult or distraction. You let results speak like roars while you move like whispers. Silence is your shield, and patience is your sword. Every time you hold back from emotional reaction, you sharpen your edge. Every time you observe before speaking, you load ammunition. Every time you walk away instead of arguing, you rise above the battlefield. This is how the Stoic wins, not by noise, but by stillness. Not by demanding respect, but by becoming undeniable. This first law of silent power will rewire your mind: never show your full hand. Let people underestimate you. Let them think you are passive. While they shout, you build. While they mock, you move. While they fight for attention, you position yourself for dominance. This world is noisy, but the crown always goes to the one who stays silent, until it's time to strike. Silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of mastery. The world confuses noise with power, but true power rarely announces itself. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet wrote in private about humility, restraint, and the discipline of his inner life. Epictetus was born a slave, yet carried himself with such stillness that even emperors feared the gravity of his words. They proved that real strength is never loud, it is unshakably silent. When you train yourself to embrace silence, to become unreadable, you immediately gain a psychological edge that others can't understand or defend against. People expect reactions. They expect emotional responses. When you give them silence, you deny them their control over you. Your calm becomes a mirror that reveals their chaos. This is where silent power is born, not in dominating others outwardly, but in dominating the only battlefield that matters: your own mind. Think of the moments when people lose control in conflict. One person raises their voice. The other shouts louder. Emotions spiral. But the one who remains calm, who says nothing, who looks unbothered, that person instantly becomes the center of gravity. The louder others get, the more powerful silence becomes. It is a force multiplier. When people see that you are not emotionally disturbed, they start questioning themselves. They become uncertain. Their anger collapses under the weight of your composure. This is why the Stoics train to pause before reacting, because the gap between stimulus and response is where power lives. That pause is your shield. It's the silent fortress around your mind. Every moment you resist the urge to react, you sharpen your blade of discipline. You become immune to manipulation, provocation, and emotional blackmail. Silence disarms the aggressive and confuses the arrogant. It flips the power dynamic instantly. But silence alone is not enough, it must be anchored in strength. The Stoics didn't advocate passivity. They practiced silence not out of fear, but out of intentional restraint. There's a difference. Weak silence is avoidance. Strong silence is strategy. If someone insults you and you say nothing because you're afraid, that is weakness. But if you say nothing because their words are beneath your attention, that is strength. That is sovereignty. Seneca the Younger taught that, he who laughs at insults is invulnerable. But even more powerful than laughter is indifference. Imagine someone screaming at you, and you don't flinch. You don't smile, you don't frown, you simply stand still like a mountain in a storm. Understand this, when you master silence, you gain control of the tempo of interaction. Most people are desperate to fill silence. It makes them uncomfortable. They rush to speak just to avoid the tension. But when you remain silent, you own the tension. You make them play on your rhythm. That is how you outsmart them, not with words, but with the absence of words. Your silence forces them to reveal more, to expose their hand, to stumble into mistakes. This is not manipulation, it is mental mastery. It's how you protect your peace while influencing outcomes. The Stoic way is not about controlling others, but about becoming so in control of yourself that others naturally align to your energy. When you stop chasing power with words, power begins to flow toward you. And yet, the world will misinterpret your silence. They will call you cold, arrogant, detached. Let them. Their need to label you is proof that your silence disturbs them. And disturbance is influence. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be undisturbed by anyone. The Stoics did not seek approval, they sought inner harmony. So should you. Because once you no longer need to explain yourself, justify yourself, or defend yourself, you become free. That is the highest form of power. No one can manipulate what they cannot read. No one can defeat what they cannot disturb. That is the essence of silent power, to be untouchable not because you fight, but because you don't need to. Emotions are the strings that pull most people like puppets. They get angry and lash out. They feel insulted and rush to defend themselves. They feel fear and instantly retreat. But the one who learns to master emotion instead of obeying it becomes unstoppable. The ancient Stoics knew this deeply. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That single line is the gateway to mental invincibility. Because if you can control how you respond, the world loses its power. Nothing can break you if nothing can move you without your permission. This is the essence of silent power, to walk through chaos with calm eyes and a still heart. While others are drowning in emotional waves, you are standing on the shore, watching the storm like a stone. You become the anchor in a sea of turbulence. People will feel it. They will sense that they can't shake you, and that realization will make them hesitate. And hesitation is where your power blooms. Emotional control is not about suppression, it is about transmutation. Suppression is burying feelings until they explode later. Transmutation is acknowledging them and redirecting their energy. When you feel anger, you do not explode, you channel it into focus. When you feel fear, you do not retreat, you turn it into preparation. When you feel sadness, you do not drown in it, you convert it into understanding. This is what the Stoics practiced, emotional alchemy. Marcus Aurelius would journal his anger, his doubts, his grief, and then rewrite them as lessons, as principles, as strength. This is why his private writings still shape leaders centuries later. Because emotional mastery is timeless power. Anyone can shout. Anyone can panic. But very few can remain calm while their world shakes. That is what makes you unforgettable. When others see you remain composed under pressure, they instinctively trust you, respect you, even fear you. They know you are not ruled by chaos, and so you cannot be easily defeated. Understand this, most conflict is emotional bait. People provoke you not because they are strong, but because they are weak. They need your reaction to feel powerful. They want you to lose control so they can gain it. But when you stay calm, when you say nothing, when your body language stays still and your eyes stay focused, you starve them. You deny them the fuel they need. That's why silence paired with emotional control is nuclear. It makes you unpredictable. It makes you impossible to manipulate. Emotional people are easy to control because they are transparent. Stoic minds are impossible to control because they are opaque. They give no signals, no tells, no openings. Like a locked fortress with no door. This is why you must train yourself to observe your emotions like passing clouds, see them, name them, let them drift. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. Nothing they say can shake the sky. Nothing they do can move the mountain. That is the mindset of the unbreakable. But emotional control is not built in comfort. It is forged in fire. You must deliberately place yourself in situations that trigger you, and then practice staying calm. This is your training ground. Let people talk over you in conversation and simply observe. Let someone insult you and smile inwardly, not outwardly. Feel the impulse to react, and choose not to. Every time you resist the urge to emotionally explode, you are sharpening your inner sword. You are building emotional calluses that make you shockproof. The Stoics embraced discomfort to gain this edge. Seneca the Younger would sleep on hard floors, fast from food, and walk barefoot to practice losing comfort. Why? Because comfort makes emotions soft. Discomfort hardens them into steel. When you are used to hard things, nothing can shake you. While others panic, you remain precise. While they break down, you stand upright. This ability terrifies people, because they expect chaos and get stillness. And stillness is more powerful than any argument. True emotional mastery also means choosing what deserves your energy. Not everything deserves a response. Not everyone deserves your outrage. The Stoics lived by a simple principle: if it is not under your control, it is none of your concern. This is radical power. Because it frees you from the slavery of reaction. If someone betrays you, but their choices are beyond your control, why give them your emotions? If the world mocks you, but their oh. And that is louder than any words. This is how you dominate a room without speaking. Your composure declares, I am untouchable, and everyone hears it even though you say nothing. Your calm becomes your crown. Your restraint becomes your roar. Emotional control is not weakness, it is the highest strength, because it means you control the one thing that controls everything else, your mind. And here is the deepest truth: emotional control is the foundation of freedom. If the world can make you angry, it controls you. If people can make you jealous, they own your attention. If events can make you panic, they own your decisions. But when you can walk through betrayal, through chaos, through disaster, and remain clear-headed, you are free. Nothing owns you anymore. That is the ultimate Stoic state, self-ownership. No matter what storms rage outside, you remain the calm within. This is not natural, it is trained. But once trained, it becomes who you are. While others need to scream to be heard, you only need to stand still. Because stillness becomes its own authority. And authority obeys no noise. This is why the Stoics seemed almost superhuman, because they acted from principle, not from impulse. When the world pulled at them with fear, ego, or anger, they simply did not move. They stood like monuments while others scattered like leaves in the wind. That is your goal, to become unmoved. When you master emotional control, you stop playing their game. You create your own. You no longer chase approval, you no longer fear rejection, you no longer react to pressure. You simply decide. You move like water, silent, calm, unstoppable. While they play with noise, you play with time. While they seek attention, you build legacy. This is the quiet dominance of Stoicism. It does not roar. It does not boast. It simply endures, and outlasts everything else. And when the dust settles, when the noise fades, when everyone else has burned themselves out, you will still be standing. Because they could not move you. And what they cannot move, they cannot defeat. That is how you dominate any situation, not with words, but with stillness that cannot be shaken. That is silent power. Power isn't just what you have, it's what people think you have. And one of the most devastating strategies the Stoics mastered was the art of understatement. Understatement is the weapon of those who are already powerful inside and do not need to prove it outwardly. It is the art of saying less than you know, revealing less than you feel, and allowing people to wonder instead of understand. The Stoics lived like this deliberately. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of the largest empire on earth, yet he spoke with humility, as if he were merely a servant of duty. Epictetus had the sharpest mind of his era, yet he used simple language, never boasting of his brilliance. Seneca the Younger was one of the richest men in Rome, yet he constantly reminded himself of poverty and spoke as if he owned nothing. This was not weakness, it was strategy. Because when you show less, you control the narrative. When people don't know how much power you hold, they cannot prepare to defend against it. Uncertainty is your camouflage. Mystery is your shield. Understand this, when you talk too much, you give away your advantage. Every word you speak gives others data, about your mindset, your fears, your plans, your confidence. The more data they have, the more easily they can predict and manipulate you. But when you practice understatement, you cut off their access. They cannot attack what they cannot see. This is why silent people are often overestimated. People project their own fears and fantasies onto your silence. They assume you know more than you do. They assume you are stronger than you reveal. This works in your favor. Understatement makes others fill the blanks with their own imagination, and imagination always paints you bigger than reality. The Stoics understood this psychological law. They didn't advertise their strength, because strength that must be advertised is not true strength. They understood that power declared is fragile, but power concealed is indestructible. When people don't know what you are capable of, they approach you carefully. And caution gives you the upper hand. Understatement also makes your actions strike harder. When someone who constantly brags finally succeeds, no one is surprised. But when someone silent succeeds, it shocks the world. That shock magnifies your impact. This is why the Stoic strategy is to let results speak, and let words stay quiet. The less you hype, the more weight your actions carry. The less you seek credit, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because presence does not need applause. It just needs consistency. Every time you choose silence over self-promotion, you are storing power like a coiled spring. You are building suspense. And suspense creates influence. People begin to watch you without knowing why. They lean in closer because they want to decode you. And the harder they try to decode you, the more they respect you, because mystery is mistaken for depth. This is the paradox of power: the less you say, the more they believe you know. The art of understatement also protects your emotional sovereignty. When you speak too freely about your dreams, your struggles, or your strategies, you give people emotional leverage. They know what matters to you, so they know how to hurt you. But when you say little, they know nothing. Your silence creates psychological fog. They can't hit what they can't see. The Stoics practiced this as self-defense. They didn't reveal their ambitions, because ambition is vulnerable. They didn't flaunt their achievements, because praise can make the mind arrogant and weak. Instead, they lived as if they had nothing to prove. This is crucial. When you live like you have nothing to prove, you become impossible to manipulate. Understatement is also the antidote to ego. Ego shouts. Power whispers. Ego wants to be seen. Power wants to be secure. When you constantly announce your worth, you invite resistance. People want to challenge you, to expose you, to bring you down. But when you say little, you trigger no ego wars. You move in silence, and silence disarms envy. This is what makes the Stoic path so effective. It allows you to grow without resistance. No one tries to sabotage what they don't see coming. Like a seed growing under the soil, you rise quietly while others compete for attention on the surface. And by the time they notice you, it's too late. You've already become unmovable. This is why the Stoics practiced anonymity even in success. They wanted growth, not applause. They wanted mastery, not popularity. When you choose the same, you escape the trap of comparison and ego that destroys most people. Understatement frees you to focus entirely on the craft of becoming powerful, not the performance of appearing powerful. But make no mistake, understatement is not hiding out of fear. It is withholding out of strength. You are not quiet because you doubt yourself. You are quiet because you know yourself. You do not need to be understood. You do not need to be believed. You do not need to convince anyone. That is the Stoic stance. You stand rooted in your inner certainty like a mountain stands rooted in the earth. Whether people notice or not, the mountain remains unmoved. This is the essence of silent power. While others spend their energy on display, you spend yours on discipline. While they chase the crowd's attention, you build your inner empire in secret. And one day, when your results speak for you, they will wonder where you came from. That is the power of understatement. By the time they hear you, it's already too late to stop you. There is one more secret here. Understatement gives you the gift of surprise. In any conflict, surprise is power. When they think they know you, they can't read you, so they can't predict you. And what they can't predict, they fear. Your quietness becomes psychological warfare. They start second-guessing themselves, questioning their own strength, imagining that you know more than they do. And while they are busy fearing imaginary versions of you, the real you moves in silence and wins. This is how Stoics conquered not with noise, but with invisible momentum. They looked ordinary until it was too late. They spoke gently while planning deeply. They smiled softly while thinking ruthlessly. And by the time the world realized their strength, they were already on top. That is your blueprint. Say less. Show less. Reveal nothing. Let silence build your legend for you. If something deep inside you is whispering that you're meant for more. If you are done explaining yourself to people who will never understand you. If you are ready to rise in silence while the world keeps shouting. Then don't just watch this, commit to it. Hit that subscribe button right now, not for me, but for the version of you who refuses to stay ordinary. Smash the like button if you're ready to walk the quiet path of power. And share this with someone who's been doubted, overlooked, or underestimated. So they remember. True power doesn't announce itself. It arrives in silence, and it conquers everything.